somebody who's going to remain nonverbal and have to live in a supervised living situation, all the way up to geniuses out of Silicon Valley. In many school systems, Einstein would be labeled autistic. He had no language till age 3. It's a big spectrum. It's a true continuum. And when you get on the milder end of the spectrums, there's no black and white dividing line between geek, nerd, and a mild Asperger's. It is a true continuum, and I'm saying that seriously, not just joking around. I cannot emphasize enough, if you think you have a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old showing autistic symptoms, no speech, no eye contact, sitting doing a lot of repetitive behavior, the worst thing you can do is nothing. You have got to start working with that kid. By the time I was 2.5 years old, I was in a very good little speech therapy school. My mother hired a nanny who spent constantly time with me all the time, and we played turn-taking games. Turn-taking games of the Chinese checkerboard, turn-taking on the parcheesi board, learn how to take turns over the sled. Lots and lots of different activities. Because turn-taking is something that doesn't come easy to these kids. You got to teach turn-taking. And another thing my speech teacher did is she enunciated the hard consonant sounds, because I did not hear those very well. Now, a lot of disorders have sensory problems. Sensory problems are common. And there's a lot of people who don't have specific diagnoses that have sensory problems. Sound sensitivity, touch sensitivity, problems with fluorescent lights, all these different things on the slide, autism, dyslexia, learning problems, ADHD, Asperger's, head injuries, various different types of developmental disorders. And then some of these poor kids are getting labeled oppositional defiant. As we're getting, tighter and tighter on getting money for services, there'll be some motivation to put them in that category. They get oppositional defiant because a lot of times it's just bored to death in school. See, one of the problems you have with the autism spectrum is the skills run even. They're good at one thing and bad at something else. We need to be getting a lot more emphasis on building up the area of strength. You just need to get doing that. When I was a little kid, loud sounds like a school bell hurt my ears. Things like smoke alarms can be really bad. It's like a dentist drill hitting a nerve. Now, a sound that bothers one kid may not bother another kid. And these sensory things, lots of people have sensory problems, and they're real problems. And, one kid may love running water, another kid's going to just hate it. Now, you go in, you test the kid's hearing, auditory threshold. That's the ability to hear little tiny sounds. That will be normal. But what's abnormal is the ability to hear auditory detail. That's things like the hard consonant sounds. Like if I said dog, they might just go, oh. They might just hear, oh. They won't hear the hard consonant sounds. That's why my speech teacher had to stretch out and enunciate those hard consonant sounds. Some kids have problems with their hearing fading in and out, just like a bad mobile phone. That kind of fades in and out as you go up and down the hills. Their hearing may be this way. So how can you tell how much of a severe sensory problem you've got? What happens at big supermarkets? What happens in the shopping mall? Every time you go to Walmarts and big stores like that to scream and fit, you probably have very severe sensory issues. And they can be really, really debilitating. Now, another problem that brains and problems have, not just autistic brains, but also dyslexic brains, kids with learning problems, kids with ADHD, the processing speed of the brain is slower. So you have attention-shifting slowness. I have problems like if a cell phone goes off, I orient towards that, and it takes me much longer to orient back to what I'm thinking about, because it takes me longer to shift gears between two different things. Now, this is some interesting research where they had people on the autism spectrum watch Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? Well, I have to say, it's kind of a boring social movie. When I'm on a plane, I can't keep the headphones on, it's so boring. But when they played The Day the Earth Stood Still and my little TV was broken, I made sure I found a seat where it worked. That's the kind of movie I like. Now, you'll notice that the normal person there is looking at the eyes. I didn't even know that people had all these secret eye signals until I read about them when I was 50 years old. And there's something else really important that shows. Look at how many times the yellow line looks back and forth compared to the red line. That's the attention-shifting slowness. The red line doesn't look back and forth at all. And you're looking at the mouth, you're just trying to figure out what's being said. And this happens in many, many disorders. And sometimes you have a person where the diagnosis is going to be sensory processing disorder. And I'll talk to you about the problem with hearing the hard consonant sounds. In the dyslexia literature, that's called phonological awareness. Other literature, it's called auditory processing disorder. Now the thing is, these problems are inside the brain. The ears and eyes themselves don't have anything wrong with them. It's how it's processed once it gets past the ears and the eyes. Now some people, I'm finding this is very common, when they go to look at something, the image will break up like a mosaic. This is real common. I'm finding in my class of 35 students, my design class, I'm finding one of these every semester has this problem. You know, adults and kids that have this problem absolutely cannot draw. Now the HBO movie did a great job of showing how I think in pictures. I can tell you, don't think in pictures if you have this problem. You tend to be more of an auditory thinker. And people that have problems with the visual system, and this is all inside the head back in here, well, if it's a kid, they'll like to do a lot of stuff around the eyes, and sometimes they'll tilt their head when they go to read so they can see better. Often terrified of escalators because they can't tell how to get on and off. But the big one's fluorescent lights. There's one thing I've changed in classroom design. I get rid of 60-cycle fluorescent lights. Now I know that they're energy efficient. So what are we going to do about energy efficiency? You're going to have to go to electronic fluorescent lights that are maybe 300, 400 cycles. Otherwise, the person's going to feel like they're in a discotheque. Also, the old-fashioned energy waster light bulbs, 100-watt light bulb, those don't flicker. The hot ones don't flicker. And guess what? You go in and get an eye exam, probably going to be normal. If you ask a kid, have you ever looked at print on the page? Does the print on the page wiggle and move? And now we're going to get into simple ways to correct this problem. Simple things you can just do at home. Well, if you got windows, get your desk over by the window. If you're stuck in an office with fluorescents, then 100-watt lamp. Put that in a cubicle. I had a dyslexic student that had this problem. And if she hadn't had her laptop computer, she would have flunked out of school. Because TV-type computers flickered, and some of the flat panels that are backlit with a fluorescent light, those also flickered. She also printed her homework on tan paper. Try printing the reading material on maybe light blue paper, gray paper, lavender paper, try all the pastel colors to reduce the contrast. But the big thing that can help a lot of people is colored lenses. And I have sent a number of students out sunglass shopping, and I said, well, go find the pink ones, the purple ones, the pale colored ones, try on all the hippie glasses. They find a head shop, they've got a whole lot of really good glasses. And what you do is you just keep trying on different colors until you find the ones where the print no longer jiggles. How these glasses work, why they work, nobody really knows. It has something to do with the circuits inside the brain. Then these other things, personal glasses, that has to be done by a professional. But just colored lenses. I had a student that was not doing well in my class. She had really awful drawings. And she went out sunglass shopping and she got some pink glasses and she says, I got an A on my economics quiz because for the first time I could actually see the PowerPoint graphs and they weren't jiggling. Okay, severe sensory problems. You can have, I have problems with screening out background noise. That's a problem for me. Okay, like this little baby over here makes a sound, and then I orient to that over there, and that's my attention shifting slowness. I absolutely cannot multitask. Very severe sensory problems tend to be monochannel. They can't see and hear at the same time. They gotta look at something, or they gotta hear it, but they can't do both. And if you're really messed up, and this is going to be more probably in nonverbal types, body boundary. You can't tell where your hand starts and the table begins. And people that have a lot of problems with the visual system, they are going to be an auditory thinker. They're not going to be a visual thinker like me. I don't have a problem with my visual system. Colored glasses aren't going to do me any good.